Hey folkies!
Hello!
Welcome back to Wandering to Wellness. So today we were having a chat with Organico.
Organico. Tell us something about Organico. It's in Bantry, right?
Good folks, yeah. So they've been around for ages. It is a big family business, but the two sisters now from the family, Hannah and Rachel, run it together, and they're just two of the best folk in the world. They're just super nice. And without being cruising along the surface positivity vibe, they have depth, but they're just so into what they're doing. They're so passionate. They're so knowledgeable. They're
like the absolute definition of wholesome, but in the best possible way.
Because sometimes they can go the wrong way.
Yeah, no, they're just so great. And I hadn't met them before actually, but they're just instantly warm, instantly inviting, and the place is that as well. I mean, it absolutely reflects them. You walk in, you don't feel like, oh gosh, where should I sit? How can I find it? It's just like sit down, make stuff at home, grab a cup of tea, eat all the delicious food, and go into the health food store, buy all the stuff. And their massive shift is towards sustainability and eco-friendly stuff, isn't it?
When we were down there, they were just about to open up their little shop. I actually don't know if they've got it open yet, because I haven't seen a lot on Instagram about it. I must get in touch with them. But they were about to open up a zero waste store out the front. And they were looking at doing all sorts of exciting things like tapped kombucha on tap, which is something I would love to have on the hops one of these days. But yeah, so the zero waste initiative was a big part of our chat. And what they feel about that, what they feel that how necessary it is, how we all make mistakes as well, and I had a few.
How we learn from them, and also family stuff, and that was nice because you run a family business and they have a family business, and it's kind of nice to talk about how that is and how rare it is and how difficult it can be, and also about managing when you have a family business or even just being self-employed. It kind of figures into it. How do you manage your own energy, your family life, your time? How do you not just live 100% of the time in the business, and how do you conserve energy?
And in a family business, yes, in one sense, and also just in a business that's essentially a social enterprise, and I think it's fairly comfy to call them a social enterprise. They're not an NGO. They're still, they're a company that's driven at some level to making profit, but profit in a sustainable manner, which is a totally different kettle of fish, and you can feel it from them. They're like, we talked a lot about the two of them managing their time in terms of scaling back their days so that they could realize more of what they wanted for themselves, and taking a hit from their own paycheck to do that. So it's very real. It's not kind of like, boards of directors and like external to the business and like just trying to look at how
there's nothing lofty about it. It's grassroots. It's here's the business, here's what we want to do, here's what we want for our life, here's what we want for our community, and how can we manifest that?
Yeah, exactly. So they're good folks. So go and enjoy that.
Go see them. Take a road trip all the way down there. Find the Wild Atlantic seaweed baths, which we also have to talk about soon. And have a sea swim. And if you are into sea swimming, you should check out Clear Light Saunas, who are one of our sponsors, because they are a great way to bring that kind of cold water hot therapy into your house. No point in doing that hot without the cold. No, there isn't. Definitely not. Clear Light Saunas, amazing, so exciting. Infrared saunas.
And they're the only infrared sauna that is shielded so that you're not getting a lot of EMFs into the sauna as well. That's the big thing about Clear Light. They patented the technology so that they reflect back the electromagnetic frequencies that would be like pulsing through you inside unfortunately most infrared saunas, I hate to say it, and as a result you end up with a low EMF environment and just all that healing infrared stuff, medium, near and far spectrum infrared, which has like powerful healing properties. We'll be talking about that again.
And then to Newzest, our favourite vegan protein powder.
And general health food supplement, good things.
Yeah, they support me absolutely in my daily life as a yoga teacher completely, and just repair and...
They're phenomenally easy to digest as well. That's one of the big things.
That's the main thing for me, is that I need to be able to take something quickly between classes. If I have like a 20-minute window, that I can then go and teach a vinyasa flow style class, and I'm not going to puke a whole load of protein powder.
I took it before a long cycle on Sunday morning when I do the hot loop, and I usually fast before I go. And I just woke up because I'd eaten early the day before. I said, I feel like I need to take something, so I had one of Newzest's clean lean proteins, one of their new ones with functional flavors. So it's got medium chain triglycerides and a bit of coffee in there as well. And it was A, delicious, and B, like I was on the bike 20 minutes later and I had no sense of like fullness. And I hate that. I hate training or anything that I've got food in my belly. So yeah, try them out. Go use them. They're
use them for the whole family. That's the other thing. You can cook with them.
For kiddies.
Yeah, all my cookies and muffins and stuff for my son have them in them, which is just super to be able to get that protein in the beginning of the day.
Absolutely essential for your blood sugars. Do it. And also then Swivel, this little robot we're recording on right now. This little guy who tracks us and runs around the room with us. Who allow you to educate and spread awareness of whatever your specific field is.
Whatever your platform is, it gives you that platform basically easy to use and with freedom of movement. So that if you're a yoga teacher like me, or if you're working in a university or classroom style environment, you can move around the classroom and walk to different projectors and point out different things, and it'll follow you around wherever you go. So we have discount codes for all of those if you wanted to buy them, and they will be in the footnotes. And as always, if you want more information, you can contact us.
Her or me.
So enjoy our chat.
Bye-bye. Hey folks, welcome back to Wandering Wellness.
Hello.
Finn and Lydia as ever, and two very special guests. I'm always holding their hands and their heads in my hands. So we have Hannah and Rachel there.
Hello. Hi.
So Hannah and Rachel are the owners of Organico, the most exciting health food store I think in the country, and very very much like cousins of ours on their path in terms of where we're kind of going with the health food kind of paradigm and what we're interested in, and what like managing to run businesses that they strongly believe in. So there's such a strong sense of social enterprise and community when you come to Organico that it's you can't really resist the idea that it's more than just a shop. And that's what makes me respect so much. So you're our first health food store folk to have on.
I'm delighted.
Yay! So like tell us. So today we just managed to catch you. It's insane running a health food store, I know.
Yep.
What sort of pattern have you guys got? Who does what? How? Because we've a family business as well. It ain't easy being very breezy around that. Like but you seem to have a really lovely dynamic. Much lovelier than our dynamic, I'll be honest.
Yeah. We've worked really hard at it.
Yeah.
There's something around, definitely for like the first, how long have we had? 15 years co-managing, I think.
That's amazing.
And for the first 7 or 8 years, we definitely had a situation where we were scrambling to cover all the hours, and Hannah was in here stacking shelves at 9, 10 o'clock at night, and loved that and had a real kind of passion and draw for it.
Yes.
Yeah, completely. But then things change, babies happen, businesses develop, and we've definitely got to the point now where like we can happily say for 6 months of the year we're doing 4 days a week.
Wow.
We overlap on those days, so we take weekends off.
Long weekends.
We're suddenly going to be like, everyone's going to go, no, how do you manage that?
Yeah. Jealousy-inducing. Produce.
Well, maybe we end up not having such an amazing bank balance at the end of it, because we've got a lot of staff and we've decided to distribute the hours between them. We're not trying to kind of
keep it all for yourself.
And maybe kill ourselves, prove something. I don't know. There's something there around, if you can, stepping back and overseeing something.
Quality of life.
Yeah.
Well, I think it seems like from the outside, obviously, because I don't run a food store, but I'm seeing Finn do that, and then like listening to what you're saying, that it's a weird thing, isn't it, that you end up running a health food store that's promoting health and then running yourself into the ground by working
very easy to do that.
Insane hours and taking it all on your shoulders, and you're spending the day doling out this advice to people about like work-life balance and then time to breathe, and you don't have that for yourself. So I think there's a certain amount of, certainly as a parent, which is kind of the same as having a shop in a way, you do need to model behaviours.
Absolutely. No, absolutely.
There's no point in do what you do and not.
Well, we used to do sort of 5 or 5.5 days a week, and sometimes 6, because if you say you're going to do 5, there's always the possibility you're going to do 6. That's what happens, isn't it?
Yeah,
and there's the homework.
And there's the homework. And then I remember, because Rachel was baking and really had a pretty endless amount of energy and was kind of, pretty much going for it. And I remember, I'm a little bit older, and I remember a good 10 years ago kind of saying, if I have a day off and I have a day at home, and at that point I didn't have children, so a day at home actually meant, and there wasn't any iPhones, there wasn't any internet at home, so a day at home actually meant a day at home, thinking about things and reflecting. And I remember kind of saying, I actually think I come back into work and I'm better, and my kind of ideas about the business develop, and my she's mad.
Took me a long time to catch up.
But I remember just going, hang on, this actually really does me so good. Now, fairness, in the last 9 years, that's out the window, because days at home now are not days at home on my own. They're the opposite. And there was a little bit of time at the beginning of that situation where I found that really hard.
Proper clash.
Oh, I was really struggling with that, But I mean, but then you get used to that. And then now, actually, Max is in school, so now I'm back to having
Bit of time.
that morning. Yeah,
Nice.
Really value it.
Yeah.
Boy, do I value that.
So what do you do with it?
Oh, it's amazing. Well, you have to be really, really careful not to just go on social media for the whole time.
Yeah.
That's really big.
Answer emails.
So I have a neighbour that I go for a walk with, and I live in the Glengarriff Nature Reserve, so we go for a walk in
proper
the nature
hike
reserve.
up.
Yeah.
On the hill. Yeah.
Just managing to do that. If I know I have that in the day, that kind of and then the rest of it just is pottering often, just pottering around, because sometimes when you let your brain go idle, ideas kind of flow a little bit better.
And I think it's hard as well. I mean, there's a certain amount when you're a mum, you have that space where you've given yourself that time, which is hard won and carved out, and then you're like, oh, but I should do the washing now, and I should probably tidy up that space, and then there's the toy area that hasn't been dealt with, and have I actually disinfected anything in 2 years? No. And you're trying to fill that space, and then suddenly you don't have that off time. It's hard to make the discipline in your mind to say, this space to do nothing is really valuable.
Well, very hard, and I do often kind of think, gosh, I think I'm a really lazy person, because I'm sitting here and I'm kind of not really doing anything, and there's loads of things I should be doing, and what's going on kind of feeling, and then remembering, no, actually this is what it's about.
You carve that time. That's important.
This is what I wanted.
Not filling it.
Not filling it. But I'm not being productive. So yes, there's a lot of that dynamic that you have to get used to.
It's funny to find that thing between we're so programmed to do and not just to be, isn't it? And we kind of we never have that time to reflect and go, what, like, am I happy? How does my body actually feel? And it's hard to do that and then be giving advice to be giving to people all the time, which is what you're doing.
And even just to read the newspapers, I actually do I buy the Saturday Guardian, and it's the kind of a treat, and and I love just being able to just sit in bed and finish the magazine properly. Just
with
doing
a
that.
warm cup of tea.
Exactly, warm cup of tea. Yes.
Not like lukewarm or mildly cold.
No, so there's little pleasures, and I mean, we both live in the countryside, so we're very lucky in that when we're at home, it's peaceful, and it's you are quite separate from work. I don't know how, like, some people live above their work. I don't know how.
Yeah.
I just
we talked to Mark
don't
Jennings
know
yesterday
how.
in Pilgrims.
Yes, I just thought of them.
Yeah, they live.
They're
Sheila,
moving though, right?
I think so. Yeah, Sheila lives upstairs. She used to work for us. She's working in Pilgrims at the moment.
Oh, lovely. Okay.
And so that connection is visceral. Like my parents, when they started the one in Harold's Cross, that was like living upstairs and working downstairs. Like physical detachment, geographical detachment. There's no other
there is switch.
I mean, it's bad enough with the fact that now we can just be like, we have an online shop
virtually here.
So we're just I could be tinkering with the online shop literally 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. I could, no problem. There's endless stuff. I woke up this morning thinking, I need to,
I've actually tried to make it so I don't fully understand the online shop, so I've left our new business development manager.
I'm there with you. I am so.
So there's parts I'm like, actually I don't know how to do that new special offer thing, but she does and they do, so that's going to be okay. It's going to have to be okay, because I think that thing is, I'm terrible at restraining myself from technology tinkering, so like, if I know how to do it, I will do it.
You need to have boundaries.
Like just so I don't know, I can't do it, sorry.
But also, I sometimes think, I look ahead and I think, I've seen a couple of shop owners, one in particular who I worked with briefly in Cork 20 years ago, and she was kind of coming to the probably 30-year in business mark at that stage, and the next 10 years for her, she really, really hated being in business.
Not good, And
she did eventually get herself out, and it was fine.
Okay.
And she started running a market store for her daughters, selling bread, and she loved
and the joy again.
Loved that,
But I remember it was direct selling and customer
contact, and there was no kind of on the other rubbish, none of the admin.
Did you not enjoy the stepping into a real
it just took a
managing
really
role?
I remember it being really traumatic and difficult, and I remember thinking, I really don't want to get to the point where I hate my business.
A big time, absolutely. When you start to resent it, I had that for a couple of years at the Hopsack as well. It's a really strange kind of pervasive thing because I always woke up. The amazing thing with running the shop that I found, was I found an actual passion. I could literally get up and do what I loved, and I was like, wow. And then there was a couple of years between 2011 2015 where it just got really grindy, like really grindy. I sort of like, maybe I wasn't really that engaged with the team we had, and there was just things that weren't working out. It was like, you know, a high turnover of staff, and sort of things are just
tricky.
And it was a really tight space and lots of staff and lots of customers, and it just like
you just become so overwhelmed.
It's totally overwhelmed. Like, and to the point where you're kind of like, why am I doing this now? I wasn't sensible enough to do what you did, so like I'm cutting down 4 days a week. Instead, I kind of did more, which was strange. But
we all deal with it differently.
Yeah, apparently, or don't deal at all. But we got to a point now where I can say I love it again, which is really nice. And it's nice. I think that's the same with every relationship you're going to have in your life. You're going to have moments of like really loving it, and moments where you're like, actually, it's just kind of something I have to do today.
I want to work,
even if I don't feel like it.
It is
but
work.
you'd like to think that, you know, because obviously, you know, it is a lifestyle choice to an extent, and as such, it's not really ever going to be like, you know, there's no big payout, there's no big exit strategy, you know, there's no kind of, so then you sort of think, well, down the line, I'd like to sort of be able to stay involved because I want to still be able to eat really well, and you know, and
that's kind
support
of it,
my
actually,
health.
really, isn't it?
So you know, so then it has to be sustainable long term, and that's why we get a lot of people saying to us, oh, you know, would you open another shop in X, or would you open, you know, would you please bring a cafe to Y, and why haven't you, you know, this? And so far we haven't, because we just feel like if you overstretch, we're just quite kind of.
It's still neat. I mean, it's huge, but it's still, you can feel the neatness of it. Like, you know everybody there. It's still like it's a tight enough kind of ship.
It's the magic as well, though, isn't it? You know, when you have that thing that's so personal, and it really is like your baby. You feel that you're involved in every element of it, and that's so visceral. That thing of coming into a family-run organisation, and everyone works together, and there's that community spirit, and that's what we respond to. And I think often when places then go, oh, we could have one here and one here and here, it just
I don't know if I've
that thing.
seen something, you know,
that's exactly
replicate
it, really.
and
I mean,
do it well.
Authenticity.
Some people in a city environment where so I know one family who are second generation, so they had a health food shop and now they've got a bakery and they've got several cafes, and they seem to have, they don't work together, but they kind of live together as far as I know. So then it works because and it's all quite close in a city, relatively speaking. Whereas down here we would be kind of half an hour or 40 minutes
to another town across tiny country roads and like
and most of these towns would only respond if we were actually there. So I was imagining kind of having to actually be somewhere else all the time and kind of going, hang on, that's not what I want to do.
It's funny because the people who are in your shop as well think like, oh, the Organico brand, but sometimes they don't actually realise, they're attaching to you. And if you put the other Organico cafe down the road, they actually will, well, there's nothing, it's kind of soulless. Like, where's Hannah, where's Rachel, where's the like, funny, isn't it?
But they like to see you. I mean, you know, people like when I'm recommending people to come to Hopsack, like from my classes, or you should go there, they're like, oh, to talk to Finn, and you're to talk to Finn. But they want to come in and see you. They want to come and see you, and they want to talk to you, and they all say, but all the staff know all the stuff. And so it's not about that. It's just they relate to you guys as being the figurehead of that, and you know, it's just like being the heart of the family, though, isn't it? You know your kids love it. They come home, you're there, you're buzzing around. They don't necessarily want to spend all their time with you, but they just like knowing that you're in that other room. Because it kind of, it makes a thing. Like that's the heart. That's like the beating heart of the thing, isn't it?
So the beating heart of this thing, you're kind of evolving a good bit at the moment. There's a lot of change happening. I know you said there was nearly a shop opened up outside that wasn't going to be great. But now you've got that space. And now, tell us what's happening next slide.
Well, our next development is going to be around the zero waste movement, because I mean it's kind of going back to our roots in a sense. Because we both still have very strong memories of decanting miso from 10 kilo tubs
ditto.
into very well washed jam jars. You know, and decanting honey.
Quantities of
honey
sticks and
oh my goodness, the honey.
Those were the traumatic
the miso,
ones.
the
Did you do the
honey.
halva? Did you do the kilos of halva?
Of course we did. Absolutely.
Still did those up until really recently.
Just abandoned that. So there's certain people who like the halva that's cut up from the block. They don't want the halva in the box.
The same.
Asafoetida would probably be really up there in the memory.
Pungent.
Asafoetida, fetid.
Fetid is the word.
Fetid is the word that comes
12 years old and you know,
and not even really interested in food at that stage. So like really not. I don't know what we were doing with asafoetida.
Earning money. I was very means to an end.
But So we did and all the facts and everything. So that was the beginning of the shop. Was well priced, really
basic.
Affordable food.
Yeah.
And we were right next door to the Dole office.
Okay.
And so our busiest day was Thursday.
Wow. Okay. And so you definitely found that people were coming to you looking for value.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And actually, what we did, we were probably the first people. Our father spotted a niche with Martin Benham, who started the first Whole Foods.
Munster Whole Foods.
Oh yeah, Martin. Sorry, of course.
Yeah.
Martin had quite a lot of food that went past its date.
Yeah.
Food and other items that went past their date, and he didn't have a way of getting rid of that. So our dad said, look, I'll come up and look at it once a month, and I'll give you a price on it. So we used to get a pallet arrive once a month of unbelievable goodies. You know, things like salt that had gone past its date, and honey that had gone past its date.
Ridiculous. Olive oil, things that would just everyone knew back then. Unfortunately, we've kind of lost.
In the meantime, we lost
information.
But I think it's coming back now with all of the movement in the UK to reuse food that's at its sell-by date and all that. So our dad was brilliant for spotting these little things. So he just said, I'll take it off your hands. You know, and he'd give him, £200. And just take his whole pallet.
Right.
So then we'd spend a day or two sitting there, kind of going, tahini that's just past its date, what looking up the catalogue and figuring out what was it retailing at and putting a price on it,
right, and because those dates were best before as opposed to use by.
They were best before,
and this is the thing, people have really lost this idea in their head, and we still don't, to be honest with you, in our shop we still won't put anything past as best before on the shelf because, well, it's kind of a legacy thing for my mum, I guess, but there's the reflection of quality in the business in the same way as a lot of food businesses won't allow their not so good looking veg onto the shelf. And I have real problems with it, but I don't quite know how to bridge that gap so the customers go like, oh, this is okay now, and you weren't okay with it yesterday. Like, do you know, it's funny, isn't it?
Well, the business that our parents were in previous to the health food business was making yogurt.
Okay.
And we made a live yogurt.
Oh, right.
Dad again, just decided everybody's gut bacteria was really important.
He was a bit ahead of his time, considering.
How long ago was it?
The 80s, the
The
late
shop
80s.
is 25 years old, so it was the late 80s, that he did the yogurt business. And I mean, he got as far as selling into
all the Dunn stores, Super Quinn, and
Super Quinn was a huge buyer.
What was it called?
Glenlock yogurt, and it had this lovely picture of a mountain sketched by an artist friend of ours, and it was brilliant. And it was sugar free, and the milk was sourced locally. Milk was actually sourced from a guy who used to play classical music to his cows in the
Oh my
farm.
god, I love it.
Because he's classical. He now runs a classical music festival.
one of the best in the country.
But he was a farmer, and he used to play classical music. He had the amazing sound, which partly for him, partly for the cows. And so we made the yogurt, and we would stop making yogurt when silage season started because we could taste the silage in the milk.
That's
and
really
Dad would be
interesting.
like, no, sorry, no yogurt going out with that taste. But the thing was that, so you deliver the yogurt and you deliver it to Dunn's and Super Value and all these different places, and then it would come back at its best before date. And most of the time it would be fine for about 3 weeks after that. So we grew up eating stuff that was past its best before date.
We actually had 2 chest freezers out in the garage, so it was just filled with out of date stuff. And
so then it was quite an easy, kind of segue into kind of the idea that actually this is fine. It's just a daft date that someone's put on this stuff, especially stuff like honey, which lasts forever.
I remember like innocent smoothies. That was the one. So my parents were like the first people to stock innocent smoothies in the country. It was bizarre. I don't know.
Funny.
Weird. Like when it was tiny, but nobody was buying freaking smoothies. So it was like in the 90s, like middle, maybe early 90s. I can't remember whatever.
Fruit, you must be mad.
Absolutely, for real. Yeah, no, just have a whole fruit. And like they were all coming back home, and because like loads of them were going out of date. And I was like, I'd come home like after school, like fridge full of innocent. Oh dear, like terrible.
Tough life.
It's really tough life. But by the same token, you kind of you didn't feel you were able to play with it. You didn't feel the latitude with that. But I like.
But it is daft. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's completely daft that we've lost our judgment. So I mean, with yogurt, it's like if it's not growing anything kind of green or orange, it's actually
grand.
fine.
And the same even with the miso. Remember, my parents used to say, "Oh, there's a white bloom. Scrape the top off." Exactly. It's just a secondary.
Sauerkraut. So when sauerkraut, you just take the. Oh, do you remember when you made sauerkraut one time? Rachel made a huge amount of sauerkraut, and it just happened to have grown something on top. And then this really enthusiastic friend dumped the entire lot into the pigs. Do you remember?
Oh my god!
And Rachel's like, no.
that was my baby. That was just.
Oh no, just ready.
That was just ready.
No. Oh god.
Oh,
It's
education.
So your new store is going to be a lot of bulk.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not going to be pasta sell by date stuff.
No.
It's going to be
Big shiny lunch. Here's our Altini.
No. It's going to be bulk. So it's going to be the whole going back to the decanting idea, going back to reusing jars. We hope. I mean, we're hoping we can encourage people to bring in jars, and that it's not just going to be people taking things off.
It's going to just take time with all of it. You know, it's going to be a huge
change all our habits, really.
I mean, our own habits included.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it is that though, isn't it? I was in Greece this summer. On this great little island which is really kind of known for its food, and they have these kind of there's maybe 2 supermarkets on the island, and they're right up on the top of the hill. It's just quite a trek to go there, so people mostly just get what they grow in their gardens and have their own little goats and that kind of stuff. But when you go to the supermarket, it's not like a supermarket like we know it. It is like that. Everyone brings their jars. I remember I sent you photographs. There are these amazing kind of old wooden, like apothecary shelves that with the drawers that you pull out, and then you had a wooden scooper and you scooped it into your jar, and then you went off and you weighed it. And that was pretty much everything. All the dried goods, all the loose leaf teas, all the rice, all the beans, all the pulses, everything like that. And everyone just did it. Yeah. You know.
So over here we're going to have a huge issue because like EHOs aren't going to allow supermarkets to maintain their margins in order, like, so they're going to put such restraint on them, such pressure on them to maintain kind of chain of custody with everything. We're never going to have that grand scale in Ireland, or certainly not in the next 10 years. Like, it'll require, you remember when there was this thing with farmers markets, was it 15 years ago, and the HOs were like shutting those people down?
They were horrible.
But then they kind of said, okay, well, actually regulate your kitchen. And like, I mean, it was such an obvious move. I don't know who had the actual brain to do it, because it obviously took some work. But I feel like that's sort of needed again to get this kind of like bulk food thing going in Ireland, because at the moment it's just so. I mean, the way you're going to do it, we've looked at it. It's hefty, isn't it? Like bulk bins and the cleaning rotation and all that sort of stuff. It's quite hardcore.
We're just going to ignore all of that until we have to do it, basically. Don't focus too much on the stuff that you know is going to be
annoying.
Painful,
problematic.
Okay,
well, you know, as in, because some ideas would never get off the ground if you literally listed out all the things. Like, I definitely was that person for a while. I was like, I'm probably the person that runs around going through the bins, taking out stuff that can be recycled and giving out to everyone who hasn't been following the system. And yet I was definitely hesitant about this move because of how much I can see, even when you just have a team of like 5 people in your kitchen, it's really hard to get people to separate and to follow through and to rinse things out and to just all of that. And especially with the new legislation around recycling, it's been so challenging. Even months in, I have people going, what, we can't do this? You know, and I'm
the
just
soft
like,
plastic. Come on, lads, the soft plastic. We're supposed to be leading the way here.
I know. It's very.
But on a human level, you're like, okay, so that's people who know. That's people in like
and
actual
role
model positions, and they're making mistakes. So
then how much the education is needed, and yet there are places in West Cork. We've just had a great in Clonakilty. Twig has just opened up.
Okay.
Part of the branch. It is a zero waste part of the shop. You guys must go over and see it. It opened a week ago. And so far it looks amazing. I haven't been there due to it being summertime, but we'll get there. And the response from what I can see is huge.
It's going to snowball. I would say most health food shops are going to probably end up going this way. That's what I.
But it's going to be a kind of maybe, hopefully, customer-led.
I know. So obviously not the more kind of the more supplementary-driven shops. They don't have the space.
It's not going to work.
They don't have the space. Having said that, when you go to the UK. So there's a shop in Chiswick, we have an aunt and uncle in Chiswick, and we were there for a weekend this summer, and we always go to the local As Nature Intended, I think. And it's a high street shop. But they've got nice space, in fairness, and they're on their 3rd refit since we've been going there. It's probably about 10 or 12 years or something like that. And their latest refit incorporates about 3 meters of bulk.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting.
And they have a really nice selection, really neat, tidy,
very very compact.
Okay.
Very obviously very well thought out.
Nice
display.
and clear. That's the trick, isn't it? To make it shoppable, to make it so there's not mess all over the floor. I mean,
And then in the same area, so I mean, Chiswick being, you know, obviously quite a nice area of London, but in the same area, a completely
Australian brand.
An Australian brand of bulk. I was telling you that before.
I was just thinking this one.
Just completely devoted to bulk.
Yeah.
You know. So two places you can buy.
What were they called again? Nature Store? No, what's it called?
No, that's really annoying.
Damn, I've seen their Instagram.
I got the package. I bought some of their, you know, because they've got lovely branded natural cloth bags and like loads of things, but I can't. It's gone from my head.
Very enthusiastic
staff.
That's
the first shop in the UK, but they are. We talked to the staff member, and
they're rolling that out across.
Yeah,
good stuff.
They're planning.
So it's definitely coming.
I think the thing is finding the balance between, because where people get put off, I think, is the idea that it's this really hippie, really crunchy, kind of worthy thing, and people really enjoy, like people think of their health food store experience now as this kind of luxurious thing. They actually go there on their day off, and they're kind of going, ooh, what can I do today? I'll go to the hop sack and I'll go and sit and I'll have my cup of tea or my latte or whatever, and you know, and how exciting and everything's so pretty, and it's kind of like, it feeds your soul a little bit, and so it's finding a way of doing that still makes it like this modern, nice, what's that word that we were talking about with Instagram, that people want it? Aspirational, right? That kind of aspirational experience, rather than feeling
like. There for a second. Okay, here we go again. I love this. This is great.
That people haven't lost that thing of like still having the exciting experience. Because they don't want to feel like they've gone. I mean, some of us do. Some of us want to go backwards, but lots of people want to feel like it's cool and hipster and that thing. So it's finding the way of the display being modern enough and practical.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think, you know, with the new kind of decanters that you can get now, I think that's quite achievable. That we've been following quite a lot. The shops in the UK. There's Earth Food Love is the one in Totnes that has
started off
incredible following. I mean,
they opened up perfectly in the sense that they would have had one of these shops in the 70s, but like their refill, you know, they have the clientele in that area.
Everybody in Totnes, they're in the right area.
So they would really, I mean, it's in full support, but I mean, they did a Fund It campaign, and you know, they did like, they really...
Oh, it's a lovely story. It looks like a great story. We really should go and make a trip. R&D trip.
Earth Food, what's it called?
Earth Food Love, I think.
Okay.
Earth Food Love, that's right. I get muddled with Eat, Pray, Love, but I think it's...
there's too many of those, like 3 words and all that kind of thing.
But I mean, people just love it, and they do a lot of things. So we kind of, what we did do, we're sort of, we're waiting to open at this stage, just kind of, we got to go through a planning process, but we did a lot of looking at what we'd like to sell, and we decided, for example, not to do flour because it's so messy. We used to bag up flour, but flour comes in paper, and so we feel like, it comes in paper now. There is a plastic outer wrapping on the
shrink wrap stuff.
Now we can send it back.
But now we have found a supplier who will, thanks to you, take back some plastic, some soft plastic wrapping. So he's agreed to take that back. So that's then in effect kind of takes care of that concern. And it just feels like with the kind of, you know, the issues that people have around kind of gluten and allergies and all of that, flour could potentially be quite a problematic
it's something that travels
product,
and you know in the bakery it gets everywhere,
and then there's other things. It's very tricky in the bakery.
It's one of the big pest control ones as well, isn't it? Flour moth is the one that everybody freaks out about.
The whole rotation would be counting. So this thing,
you know, so you can kind of see, whereas I mean, I have to say the shop in Totnes, they're just doing everything. So they're just absolutely doing everything, which is really amazing. I mean, like, so aspirational.
We've got 300 lines of bulk pre-packed.
They are literally doing. They even have, do you know the lovely raw chocolates? Who does those? The little
disc. Ambar.
Not on bar. These are kind of like raw chocolate covered ginger and raw chocolate covered.
We had them at your kids' party yesterday.
We have their almonds down with us.
They do for bulk, so they supply. I know.
That's a good
I know. You could base it just on that.
I don't want a bowl of pools or a pool of balls. I want a pool of
not the black eyed peas. You know?
Exactly. Make room.
Sweet shop.
You
go and you weigh out the balls.
Pretty much.
But good, like sugar-free stuff.
Yeah. Pretty much. See? There you go.
I'll do it.
There you go. No, I know. I mean, it's the little different, and Yeah,
Sorry.
all the different niches. I mean, all the, you know, like toothpaste that people go in and they actually decant their toothpaste from a kind of kilo jar into a little reusable glass jar.
Wow.
And they come back in every whatever month to get more toothpaste.
Have you got a source?
Can't say we've got a source of toothpaste yet.
Okay.
It seems we tried out a few. We actually, on our trips to England, and we went to Brighton, we tried out a few UK made pastes that sell in jars. Haven't found one that we actually really liked yet. That's a slight
hardcore.
They're quite hardcore.
Hardcore, aren't they? Once they get into like homemade stuff and like a lot of
once
sodas.
chocolate comes out, and for some people it is just a kind of pretty instant. Like I've been trying it out on my husband and my brother because I was like, okay, this is a good balance of like somebody who probably really would go taste over anything, like anything, and it's just a bit like, no thanks, I'll just not brush my teeth.
And your sink isn't really thanking for it either. We're gonna have to like everyone's got like porcelain sinks was the worst idea. Let's make black sinks and then we'll be fine with charcoal toothpaste.
Exactly.
And for kids, like.
And for kids,
So
actually, I think they probably love it. No, would they not love the idea of putting some weird black
I know. My kid does, but like
I mean the splat.
I know.
That we have the splat chocolate toothpaste. So if we could, my one thought I had was to contact them and ask them would they consider doing one for zero waste.
I know.
Because I mean people are paying £10 for a cheaper toothpaste. So you can imagine those people are already invested in, you know, something. Not quite sure what it is, but I love that toothpaste. I'm crazy about it.
Splat's really good. I've used it. But we've got a
One
really
of our
gorgeous
biggest
one.
selling toothpaste. Would you
Isn't it
believe
weird?
it?
Yeah, it's
Even
amazing.
though the price.
Wow.
And yet people just obviously find it so good.
Well, because it combines
so
something
good.
that you believe, like it's hitting all the health markers and it doesn't taste terrible. You know, so it's kind of like. It's a free winner in comparison to
I was
a
really
lot
surprised
of them.
because when I got it in and we thought we got it in against our best intentions, against you know, just because of the price.
Well, that's why we resisted actually.
But actually, it actually is one of our biggest selling toothpastes.
Wow. So we just stocked one.
Streaking.
In streaking. We got a little. It's a little pop. What the hell is it called? They do an oil pulling mouthwash, which is cool, and they have like a little charcoal toothpaste in it.
Might just get that name off you.
Yeah, totally.
And it tastes okay.
Really good.
Well, there you go. So that's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah, and because they're doing it in glass pots already, so I wonder about the bulk thing.
I wonder if a lot of these companies, that aren't doing it, like just need enough people.
It's just that weight.
I mean, the deodorant. I wouldn't even dream now of buying a deodorant that wasn't a cream deodorant.
Okay, crap, I'm going to have to like shut and pop myself out of this. I'll just look all framed.
I'm sorry, like, we sell two brands. They work.
Yes.
And they're both made in Ireland.
Yeah.
And you can use the tin afterwards to go and collect shells on the beach.
Which is great, yes. And I love both of those brands. And they're both brilliant brands. They work really well, but I don't get a full day out of them in the shop. As a boy, I'm a boy. I unfortunately I perspire maybe a little bit more
to be
excessively.
perfectly honest, don't just take it as a gender thing. I don't get through the day either.
Oh, really?
On a busy day. So
tip, I do. So then I don't know what that is. Interesting, isn't it?
One of our staff downstairs. Okay, right. So tip of the week, and this was just me listening in on customers like being advised, and she's like, pit rock the salt.
Yes.
Rock stone first, and then one of the
and then
two.
The cream ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
Two together.
Nice.
Through the day, and like inside in the cafe on a high pressure day when I'm on the coffee machine, I am under pressure and I survive.
Thank you. That's a great tip.
My problem with them is that like I teach yoga, so my job might be like get up in the morning, go teach a class, go teach another class, go teach another class, and then between that I'm driving location to location. I need to use the deodorant between those classes, and then I'm putting my hands in the car into a tub, into my armpit, and then I'm like, what?
Where to go? Right to the steering wheel.
Hand now onto the steering wheel.
Okay.
So the spray one is the one that works for me in that situation, because I don't like. I like to say that I have baby wipes, but then you've got baby wipes, and then you've got to throw those baby wipes away, and then.
It's funny. I just don't have that issue anymore. I don't know what it is. I just don't, because I have to say, like, there's very occasional times where, you know, I have had to top up, and I don't have that. I don't know why.
For me, it's only
maybe you're in work and you're. You know,
I suppose I can wash my hands quite easily.
Yeah.
I suppose, but I don't. It's an odd thing, because right at the beginning I remember somebody coming in and demoing them, and you know, and she was talking about how you get past
this is regime,
and how you get past people's resistance to touching their own skin.
Oh, interesting.
Because we've grown up this idea that you use something to touch.
Distance thing.
And now, like, whenever that was, a year ago, or was it 2 years ago? I can't remember now. Could be, And so now I've been using them for so long that I just don't even think about it anymore. And I think
important part of the body to massage as well, lymph nodes, all that sort of stuff. So
and keep in touch with, So I think changes possibly, now there's always going to be modifications needed for different people, So when we're selling them, we do say, look, we actually, because my brother said the other day, why do you have testers for deodorants?
Rub-on deodorant.
People dipping their fingers in and going around the corner of the shelving unit, And we said no. What we do is we give them a little amount to take home, in some hopefully some little bit of paper, but so that they can try it out. Because obviously we are all completely different and we need to try it out. So there'll be modifications needed, but I think the idea now that I would buy, especially I want to phase out plastic, single-use applicator deodorants from the shop. I want to phase them out.
Have you got rid of?
I mean, they're lovely. They're lovely brands and everything, but get with the program. They're just, you're going to be using them for like 2 months and then dumping them.
What's a shame is a lot of them, there's actually good ones launching as well at the moment. Like I just found one that actually really works and it's a killer. I'm like, but
what, you can't recycle that. There's no way of recycling that. So you are literally just dumping it.
So there are always pressurized containers. They have to be. There's no way.
It's more just that they're not going to be clean. They're not cleanable, are they?
So unless you take them apart yourself,
who's going to be taking them apart, washing them, and
are we going to be doing that? Maybe if you say this is a product that works for me, I haven't found an alternative that comes in a container that I can recycle, so I am going to take it apart, and that's my commitment. But for most people, it just goes into the bin.
I suppose I feel like when we have a zero waste area, we can more confidently, make decisions. I mean, we'll have to make that as a team, that decision as a team, if we are going to phase out those. But shower gels upset me a lot. Shower gels in pumps. Now, I mean, obviously, if you were refilling that pump,
fantastic,
then that's great.
And what's weird
and that can be done.
It can be done, but weirdly, so like we've Faith in Nature refills for our like shampoo and hand soap and conditioner, and for some reason they only do like 2 of their like really, I'm gonna say bad, but good, a niche like parts of it, like a watermelon body wash and a foaming something. So clearly, like those have been listed by our big suppliers. They're not doing it, so nobody's doing it yet. Isn't that really strange? And there's not enough demand. What's weird is like, so we sit in a very privileged position as a healthy source, because we can actually make a vote on behalf of all of our whatever customers that got quite a strong carryover to our suppliers.
Definitely.
And I feel like I don't know, we're obviously not making it loud enough, even though the zero waste thing is there, and we're like beginning to like send our soft plastic back to our suppliers and that sort of stuff. But there's so much way to go.
There's a lot. So like, you have to kind of, you have to approach somebody, and then you have to wait for a little while, and then you maybe have to approach them again. I mean, there's a few. Dr. Bronner's comes in it's like 3 gallon or something like that.
I haven't got them in yet. We need to get them.
So we'll definitely have those.
One of the exciting things you're going to have is pressurized line. Is that going to happen?
Yeah.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah. I mean, it's all still slightly aspirational, but it is. We have somebody who's fairly confident that
he's just really excited about the idea of creating something from, borrowing information from kind of, anything from the vintner's pub side of things, working out how their systems work, and then incorporating the different kind of thicknesses of liquids and how olive oil is going to work versus clothes wash versus
which is
they're going to start thinking you're looking confused. They're thinking putting pressurized lines for kombuchas, for liquids, like so they'll be able to like pump and from a large vat of whatever said liquid is, get it into your bottle, as opposed
rather
to
than your little tap. And then that whole
most people use gravity.
Yeah.
But gravity, we did it up until only a few years ago, when we just, the sheer volume of washing up liquid that would land on the floor, was just heartbreaking.
Turning the tap off quickly enough,
it's just heartbreaking.
Kids messing with things.
So some kind of a pressurized container, so a bit like beer, a bit like a
we
beer
were
after barrel.
in Brighton.
Can you imagine? Like that's I haven't seen anywhere that's doing that. That'd be so exciting.
No, it kind of got our thoughts going when we went to Hisby, was it? Yeah.
Do you know, there's a supermarket in Brighton called Hisby, which stands for How It Should Be.
Oh, cool.
It's actually two sisters, I think, or two friends. I can't remember if it's sisters or friends. Anyway, and they seem to have a little compressor for each container.
Okay, yeah.
So the kind of possible improvement on that, if we can get our plumber and our electrician and everybody's kind of, is to have one compressor that's big enough to kind of feed all of them.
So they don't have there's such a need for a massive space behind it. It's kind of like, wow, okay, you've got to dedicate a bigger area of your shop just to run the logistics behind.
If something is easy to use and and doesn't cause too much waste, it's not frustrating us and it's not frustrating customers. Because my warning bell was my father-in-law, who goes into a shop in Cork that I know and kind of says, my backlight, would you mind filling up my 5 containers for me? And of course they say yes, and so then there's a staff member standing there for about 20 minutes filling up his containers. Right. So we've been there, and that just isn't going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
We're really aspirational here. But we're being really aspirational here.
I mean, you're very busy. We're very busy. I mean, we actually don't have enough hours in the day, as it were. So we've really got to watch how many hours this adds.
Isn't it? Also about it just comes back to personal responsibility. This kind of zero waste stuff is only going to work if people are invested in it. And if people aren't invested enough, it's not going to work. So part of that is going, you need to go, you need to empty the stuff, you need to clean it out, you need to go fill the stuff back up and know that you're doing your part. But if they come in and they kind of abdicate responsibility, it's going to abdicate there, and then it's slowly going to abdicate here, and then it'll just trickle back down.
I feel like you'd on a daily basis though, you need to have people woken up with an alarm clock that also showed them part of the 11th hour, one of those documentaries, so they'd be ultimately motivated for at least 5 seconds. It kind of needs to be that level of repetition, that impassioned kind of emotive response, I have to dump all of it. You can't have to do it almost on a daily basis.
You have just photographs of seas destroyed by plastic.
I'm not sure if we got it, but yes, we probably could.
But it's very interesting because obviously a lot so much shopping is moving online. I mean, we're seeing it seems like every time I open my Guardian, there's another high street chain in the UK going into admin, and so you're kind of watching this and thinking, what does this mean for us? I suppose really. And I know I know several people who do all of their grocery shopping online and get it delivered to places like the Wicklow Hills, and completely insane. And obviously, but I think partly coming into shops like ours, what you're looking for is a tactile experience. You're looking for the community aspects you're talking about, and you're looking for something aspirational. And so there's a kind of you just have to hope that something there gels and emulsifies, and we all end up kind of inspiring each other somehow. Because Rachel's doing better than I am actually with zero waste. I'm not with kids. I'm not zero waste. I have to.
It is easier when you're
just not yourself. And yet so I really notice how small, how my mind is struggling to deal with it, because it's yes, I really want to cut down my rubbish, but I really don't have the time. Oh, come on, I'm just going to do it. And it's every time I have to go through that process again. I don't have the time to wash that. I'm just going to do it.
Up until last year, I would have said I had 3 bins downstairs, but upstairs in my office and upstairs in my bedroom I only 1. And I was I'd sort of fudge those ones. I'd be they were mostly paper, but sometimes they weren't all paper. And then I'd bring downstairs and go I have to split this. I'm I don't have the time to split this. And then you'd sacrifice the entire bin that was mostly paper, which is shite. And so finally, last year, I was okay, I'm going to put in a second bin upstairs. And I'm still on a day where that's full. And that's me who's I care a lot.
I know.
And I'm still crap. I'm still want to swear more about it. But it's a really tough thing to motivate. And I'm on my own. I have zero pressure. Nobody else is making those choices for me. I'm not blaming somebody who put that tuna tin in there unwashed.
I know.
It's a doozy, isn't it? We haven't got a heck of a lot of time.
No. You mean in order to make the changes to?
So you can feel the acceleration at the moment, can't you?
Hugely. There'd be one area where I would absolutely applaud social media for putting us. I have friends who I would quite honestly not name and shame, but know for a fact it would not even be in their consciousness to think about this. And they are now contacting me and almost pushing me to improve things, which I think is
fascinating. You never saw that coming. That's an interesting, wasn't it?
No. I mean, really,
it's very interesting.
It's fascinating to see how, and that is definitely a sign of that kind of peer pressure
and, in the right way,
and social media just propelling it, because you can't be online and not be aware of
and
this.
Not see it.
Doesn't mean that you're going to change your habits overnight, but it does mean that it is there, and I just like, it's very interesting to see that it is getting into even the most kind of off track from where
people
we
who would not
be heading.
In our little bubble. And what was
which
it?
Is far better, far more important than all of us going around banging our own drums.
I know. The little echo chamber of healthy hippies.
We hosted a recycling workshop actually. Now it was midsummer and it was a really sunny day. It wasn't midsummer, it was June, but it was a really sunny day, and it was just, so it wasn't well attended. But we're going to try again, kind of end of September, because it was free for us to host, and it was free for people to attend.
Did you get one of the EPA people?
It was sponsored by, I think it was sponsored by Repack, and it was sponsored by Voice, who are, as far as I know, a charity who they instigated the plastic bag. And so somehow they've got people trained and with slides and handouts in all around Ireland. And they're just all poised to go into every group. You could get them into literally schools. The schools are kind of saying we have our own program, which I think is kind of a shame, because their own program is fine, great, but I actually think this would be good as well.
Probably great to have one line of
I suppose
just. Well, I mean, as in the one we're talking about. Having one kind of.
I mean, it's still raised questions, because we were being told by this lady that you've got to, wash and basically dry all your plastic that's going into recycling, and then you go up to the recycling depot outside of Bantry, and you see it all in a massive big heap inside a huge warehouse, being shoveled by dumpers, and
it's not perfect.
It's not being treated with any respect. So I don't know, there's obviously links, or there's parts of the chain that aren't
definitely missing. And this whole kind of thing where Voice put out that we need to not put soft plastic into bins, as opposed to saying we need to.
Bins,
yes, but like it's not that there isn't a value on soft plastic as a recycling commodity. Like
it's just that currently it's not. Well, currently in Ireland it's not. The bulk buyer said they don't want any more. So this is my understanding. So there's still some little buyers. So that's where our supplier is taking back his soft packaging. He still has a buyer. But the company that was Chinese that was buying the vast majority of the soft plastics in Ireland, they just said no because of the quality, because it was contaminated. With food. With food.
It's a shame that I feel like that should be the biggest point that the government make about recycling. Like, lads, we need to do better just with this, and imagine the change that must have made in terms of Ireland's greenhouse gas emissions, like in a second, and the change you can make in a second if you got that contract back.
So what I would have thought as well is, yes, you should encourage people just to wash it and still put it in there, because it doesn't actually. So if you put some wet paper into your recycling bin, or if you put water in a bottle, say, and it leaks out onto paper, and then that paper goes mouldy, the whole bin will go in the bin. All that paper. So there can be contamination from wet. That's why the drying is so important. There can be contamination from water onto paper. But soft plastic, so long as it's not wet, can't actually contaminate anything. So they could have just said, keep on putting it in. Just
separate your plastic from paper or whatever.
Or treat it better. And then if they do find a buyer, it would still be there.
I know.
But
I don't know. But there's a huge amount of improvements on so many levels, and I guess you can only just say you're taking care of
what you can influence. Do you know? And
then you sort of watch something. I was watching something the other day about synthetic clothing and all the microfibers. So every time we wash a fleece or whatever,
you get microplastics.
You get
microplastics is like the newest thing.
And they're just going into the water table, they're just going down the drain.
Anyway, so one of you guys, you've done some really good stuff recently. One of you guys got an e-bike. How's it going?
Really good.
New commutes to work, are they like this or like that?
It's kind of like even on the way in and on the way home, although wind is the thing that
wind is the thing.
It affects it the most. But it's been really great fun, and it's amazing how many people spot and recognise you even when you've got hideous cycling gear on, you know, when you think that you're completely, you know, incognito.
You can get a full face guard helmet, I can show you again.
But no, it's been amazing, and I'm definitely not somebody for getting myself successfully into gyms, and so there's something about doing exercise that is serving a purpose rather than like, oh, I think I need to go and exercise now. I was pleasantly surprised when I got to like week 3 or 4 and realised that I hadn't actually put any fuel into my car for 3 weeks because I had cycled and just hadn't been going anywhere on the weekend, so I really had not used my car more than a couple of trips in and out. That's cool. Suddenly it was like, oh wow, okay, that's another lovely part of.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
if
you fall down on the soft plastics thing, you know, once in a while, you're like, well, I did all this though, you know, and like it does make massive. And that's kind of all about kind of mixing and matching and doing your best.
And adding things in. It's kind of like that whole idea around trying to get healthy, that, you know, so much of it is focused on mainstream. It's like cutting stuff out and removing things from your diet and, you know, and it's like, what about if you just started adding things in? And so adding that exercise and that cycling, that bike has removed the cost of fuel from my impact. But that was a byproduct. I didn't think about, oh, I'll spend less money on fuel. It was I'm going to get exercise. And it was only like 2 years of my husband pestering me to do this that he was like, you're going to love it. And I was like, nah, it's a crazy idea. And I got on it. I was like, oh, you don't want to stop cycling.
How long did it take you to come down off your high horse and say, actually, I love it?
Yeah.
This is great.
Probably day 2. I really was not. I was totally able to put my hands up and be like, in fact, before I got the bike, I was like, this is the best thing I've ever done.
That's great.
Yeah.
Nice. And so in terms of your own kind of like health routines and stuff, have you, like, obviously the shop has influenced you because we get some information that comes in way before consumers would get it maybe. Were there any like big shifts for you in your life in terms of what you do take in your diet or supplements, those sorts of things that you that have made a big difference to you? Or do you remember kind of any particular waypoints where you started doing certain things, certain routines?
It's really tricky actually, because I feel like there's loads of levels of awareness. And there's loads of stages, but I feel like I do cycles of things definitely, and you know, so there's always a time where I know that like there's my voice in the back of the head. It's like, what's going on with you at the moment? Everything's dropped, and I'm like, okay, but the hard times not like, just don't layer on the guilt on top of that, because that's where I find, you know, I'm like doing really badly with my diet, not exercising, and then I'm like, Jesus, this is shocking. What are you doing to yourself? You know,
and still not doing the thing.
And still not doing the thing, because like, as if that voice is going to motivate you to do better. Do you know, like punish yourself into something, and so and so I think that's probably been one of the biggest learning things. Is like, there are times where you drop stuff. I'd love to sit here and say that I have amazing regimes, but you know, I do and I don't. And I think one of the biggest things is probably like, we are so incredibly lucky to eat where we work and to love the food, and that we've had this kind of food in our life. Like, some of the recipes are very, very much based on food that we ate when we were kids, and on soups and curries that my mum cooked. And so that is something that's just been in our diet since day one. And so I feel like that's one of the biggest things, is that, you know, and not to then be like, oh God, well, I've not eaten like that, so it's not gonna, I can't, you know, since day one, so it's not gonna work. But it's like, there's always a place to start. And there's always, you know,
there's huge encouragement as well. I mean, because it's, you know, we have a team of it's always
I would say
30 people at the
peer motivation,
all the different parts of the business. And so, you know, with that number of people who are all interested in working somewhere where you focus on good health. I mean, you know yourself. It's really, it's lovely. Like, you know, you come in, and even if you have had a day where you maybe fell off the wagon a little bit, there's always someone who'll kind of give you something that you can, you know, try new today, or remind you that it's a new day, or you know, there's people are trying different diets, or they're trying different ways of improving their health. It's like, that side of it is great.
Pool of information there.
Pool of enthusiasm. If you come in with something that you found worked for you, you get a lot of positive reinforcement. You know. So I mean,
and there's people taking up things together in groups. That's another thing. You know, like coming into work 15 minutes early and doing yoga for 15 minutes on the shop floor because we don't have a big enough space somewhere else.
Great.
You know, and doing their
teachers. We've got a couple of massage therapists. We've got beauticians. We've got stress management therapists.
Wow.
We've got goals. What's that? Coaching.
Like a motivational, health coach.
You know, and then the partners of people. You know, it's like
they're all in that.
There's a physio.
Oh my God, what a resource!
Do you know?
Seriously, what a resource.
So and so kind of and like there's a huge focus. You know, there's somebody who had quite a serious lung condition 10 years ago, and she recovered using natural medicine, and that's what brought her to work here.
Wow.
Or so there's a lot of stories. There's a huge amount of information and experience. Oh, and what's that? There's a therapy that's somatic. Right, with a somatic therapist.
Wow.
I'm not sure what her niche. I can't remember the actual title that her niche is, because that's very.
It's kind of in the Reiki craniosacral micro adjustment thing.
She does a particular type of like something around regression. You know, so absolutely fascinating.
Wow.
Absolutely fascinating.
You have to have them close to you and be able to access this moment.
I think it's also about asking for help and asking for information and having the thing to reach out to your community, whatever your community is, be that your family or your work life. And having that kind of, sometimes it's really hard to go, there is actually free information that's here, we can all help each other, we can feed off each other. But we get kind of into our heads and think we have to go see this person, or we have to go buy this thing, or like we have to take this thing out. In fact, a lot of the stuff that we need that would make these tiny micro changes that would make macro action, macro change happen in our life are there already for us, and it's just about being able to have
recognizing it and
strength of mind to go, actually I need help, or can you share this information, or can we trade this thing? And I think that makes it so much easier, because a lot of stuff now feels like people listening quite often, you know, they might be in a family like me where there isn't a lot of money that's floating around, and you're going, well, this sounds nice and great,
I know, but is
it
realistic
to do that? But actually we usually have, if we think about it and we listed out all our friends or our family or the people in our health food store, how can we trade with them? How can we utilize to utilize what's already there?
Definitely.
Absolutely. And I suppose, you know, because you hear people talk about life hacks, don't you?
Yes.
You know, but I mean, in a way, but you know, but there's a real sense there in which, you know, in a lot of health food stores, you do have this community of people, and each one of them has probably tried something. You know, there's, I mean, the number of gardeners. So we sell the brown envelope seeds.
Oh right, cool.
Which are produced locally, and we've got I don't even know how many, nearly all of our staff garden. You know, nearly all of them. I'd say the two of us are probably, well, actually me is probably one of the few people who don't have an active vegetable garden. So the amount of advice that you can get simply by stepping in, you know,
that's cool.
To the shop is amazing. And then the number, I don't know if you're noticing, I mean, so Dublin's slightly different, but down here we would have had, we have food supply, we have food producers, but we've more and more coming in now who are in our sector.
Amazing.
Who aren't, you know, so we've always had lovely cheese producers, that kind of thing, but now we've got like the seaweed pesto, you know, she was in our shop on Friday doing a tasting, talking about seaweed gathering, talking about cooking with seaweed, and she's so passionate and so excited. Talk about someone that you should go meet when your next trip to come and with the podcast. She is just so passionate about seaweed. So you could have a seaweed bath, and then you could go for it.
What's her name? What's her brand name?
Wassy seaweed.
Oh yeah, Wassy. Yeah, so I had the seaweed pesto. Actually, we got it down. I think in Kerry when we were down here last time.
We were actually thinking that she should rebrand it seaweed caviar. What do you think?
Yeah, the caviar thing's a funny one though. I mean, like, do we want to attach to like a $3.5 grand like ultra?
I know. Exactly the discussion that we had.
Food.
And yet, what it looks like in the jar isn't a pesto.
No, it's true.
It's a strong flavour.
And it's strong
flavour. So I think if you're attaching to the idea of pesto and then you're trying it, you're like,
Whoa, no.
God,
Yes.
might.
Yeah.
And
No.
if you were coming from a caviar point of view, which we all know is that kind of really sharp, you're like, intense sharpness. You're just using a tiny bit, not like slathering.
I think people might even like less know the actual flavour of caviar, but possibly they know like at least that it's expensive and you don't use a lot. Like, okay, maybe just a touch.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never sold, or I don't think I've even eaten caviar. I don't remember. No, it's not something that's in my and yet it's
vague
so
sense of wandering to Harrods and somebody like going to try something. I'm like, well, let's see what
But it's not something that would be in a staple, and yet it's a name that we all know and we all have a reaction to.
Yeah, anyway. True,
But so the number of local producers that are able to share their experience, soap making or, I don't know, it feels very rich at the moment.
Yeah,
and it feels like we're not a wealthy enclave in London. Really down here is people living their passion. It's not. It's not. It is aspirational, of course, but it's also just real life. It just is. And so there's a huge amount of kind of people who are successfully doing things. So if you run out of steam somewhere, you can always look at someone else.
Yeah, it's great.
And it's nice to have that. It's so nice to feel that. We were just saying that yesterday when we were at Pilgrims. It's really nice to feel now that in Ireland everyone's drawing upon that knowledge and really excited by it and by building those communities. And it seems like we're really good at that. We're actually really good at going, let's support each other. Whereas even in we were talking about in the chef world, that they're not going like, don't talk about that one because they might be really good, and then you might go to them. They're going like, hey, come do a pop-up in our restaurant and we'll go do a thing in your restaurant. They're quite good at going like, ooh, you're a foodie too. Oh, you should go to this and you should eat this and you should eat this. And naming all those people and sharing that. And that's exciting.
We were relating it back to somebody who I knew who was in Berlin recently, who spent a lot of time there, and they went to like there's a group of very ethical kind of like lifestyle ethical businesses and food shops. So like I think there's a yoga practitioner or a yoga studio and like a food shop and a few other different bits and bobs, and they come together to put on events. And this girl who was on our team actually in the shop, she went to and she was like expecting to be like totally busy. It was like one of those like pop-up things, like amazing event. If that was in here or if it was in Dublin, it would be thrown if there was 2 people. So it's interesting to see where obviously actually and you think the home of that stuff, like it's crazy. And I was like, was it out of town? She's like, no, city centre, like easy to get to. So it's something we can be proud of, I think, which is nice. We have that ability, that network building ability,
and
without
community,
making it
because
forced.
It's small. Because we're smaller, maybe, and we need to advertise each other. You need to not be like just come to Organico if you come to West Cork. It's like all of these places, and then people will come and stay. They'll stay for more than one journey, more than one day.
And but that's what's so exciting. I think that's what gives us our passion, isn't it? I mean, it's certainly what gives us the drive to do the podcast is highlighting what's here in Ireland and going, you don't have to leave. You don't have to go on this big journey around Europe or to America or to all these places. Like all
people
this
are doing
stuff is
exciting
here.
things.
We have this amazing wealth of knowledge. It's just about knowing about it. And what's so exciting is when you get to share that knowledge and go, oh, you are going to love this. Like I'm so like even you telling us about the seaweed baths this morning. It's like, oh wow, how exciting! And you could see that we were excited, and that's nice. But you gave us that excitement, and you felt that. You could see it on your face, like, ooh, you're going to have this nice experience, and you're walking around happy. Then we're happy, and we've shared that happiness, and it's really about how exciting it is that we can share that community and build that community. And when you look at what are the things that make us happy long term, that help us live longer,
that's it.
Happiness. Happiness is the thing. It's connecting people and that purpose, and this is what you guys seem to be doing so beautifully.
Go on.
No.
That's like, in all honesty, that's a great way to wrap it up. And it's the truth. And we're going to go downstairs and eat some of your lovely food now and have a nice breakfast. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming down. We're far away from Dublin, so
listen,
it doesn't always get
As a kid, this used to be I feel like it was a 5.5-hour journey. It was like, was it 3 hours 40 minutes?
No, it really was. Up until 10 years ago.
It makes actually a proper difference. West Cork is not so far away, guys. Come down and have a look.
And also, can I just say a nice thing too, because sometimes we don't hear this stuff. I've been thinking about this a lot recently, how people say nice things to us about other people, and we so rarely pass that on to other people. Or even we might think something, and we so rarely go, oh, do you know, your skin's really amazing. And I've just been sitting here looking at your skin thinking, your skin's really amazing. But we don't say it, we just keep it to ourselves. And you never know that. And so it's really important, I think, for us to start making a habit of passing that on. And when I've talked to people over the last month about, hey, we're going to do this food trail, and we're so excited, we're going to Cork and West Cork, every single person that I had mentioned it to had said, "Oh, you going to Organico?" Every single person.
That's cool.
And you know, for me, like I didn't know about you guys until Finn had told me about you. But the fact that your name was the one consistent name that came up, that's a kind of special thing.
Thank you.
That's crazy.
Yeah, really, always
amazing.
lovely to hear. It makes all of those like, oh goodness, you've got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to bake to cover somebody and all that.
Yeah.
Totally worth it.
Thank you. Great.
Yeah.
So cool. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for coming
Lovely.
on. Cool.
Thank you.
You guys can like and subscribe and post comments, please, underneath. And you know, we do goodie bag giveaways with our lovely newsletter spiral bags, which you'll have to imagine. I don't have one of them right now. And catch us on iTunes and now Spotify and YouTube if you're watching this. And stay tuned for more of our West Cork Boot Trail coming up very soon.
If you have questions for you guys, if you want to know more about zero waste stuff that's going on, you can comment underneath and we can pass it on to them. And
Lovely.
When is your shop coming up? Do you have a date for that yet?
We're going for before Christmas this year.
Okay.
We get them before Christmas.
It's an organic experience and it's growing in its own way.
Right.
So yeah.
Right.
And they
So
can
no
find
deadlines
you
at the moment.
Yeah, Organico and social media. It is just Organico Bantry, isn't it?
Organic Bantry and organico.ie.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Lovely.
Yeah, come and see him. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.